Hello, everyone. Welcome to Transitioning Back to the Classroom with Flipgrid. My name is Jornea. I'm head of Educator Innovation at Flipgrid. And at Flipgrid, our mission is to empower every learner on the planet to share their voice and respect the diverse voices of others. And we know you are gearing up for your back to school, whatever that may look like for you this year. And so we have some incredible guests with us that I'm going to bring on. Hey, Joe and Kristin.
Hi, everyone.
Now, guys, if you have not met Joe and Kristin Merrill, they are extremely a dynamic duo. I remember back in 2018, I had the pleasure of going inside of both of their classrooms and really seeing some interactive learning come to life. And since that moment, they have not only started being authors of the interactive class, but they also created Flipgrid in the interactive class as well. And today, as you are watching, we would love for you to interact with us on social media and share out all of the ideas that come to your mind as you listen to their ideas using the hashtag Flipgrid for all, and you will have a chance to win a swag pack, which includes their special book. So Joe and Kristin, tell us a little bit more about yourselves. And, I know this year has been really different in education. So just tell us a little bit about where you've been and where you're going.
Well, thank you so much, Jornea. We really appreciate you guys having us today. It's such an honor to be back with you and everybody else who's watching today. So thank you so much for having us. My name is Joe, and I'm a first grade teacher.
And my name's Kristin, and I'm a fourth grade teacher.
We're from Southwest Florida, basically as far on the southwest coast of Florida as you can go. So it's very hot and steamy at the moment. We're gearing up to go back into the classroom.
We definitely had a really crazy year. When COVID hit, our children were actually in our classrooms with us. I had our older son and Joe had our younger son. So we truly got to experience what teaching through COVID was like as teachers and as parents. And I think it definitely shaped us for coming back last fall, which for both of us was a little bit different. We had hybrid classrooms or transitional classrooms. There's so many names for it. We had live students in person as well as kids online at the same time. And I don't know. I think it was a hard transition to go through. I think there were a lot of things that we kind of mourned the loss of at the beginning of the school year and had to kind of think back through what a classroom really is and what a classroom really has to consist of to be a classroom.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to find your rhythm throughout that whole period. I mean, we went from thinking that we were going to go back to school during our spring break to not going back at all. And, trying to find that stride in that time period was difficult, obviously, because you're being thrown so many different things, and it was, you coined it, the world's greatest PD event for teachers. And so everybody was trying to learn about different digital tools. And then the following year, I think, was actually even more challenging because we didn't have the group of students that we had for the first half of the year with us. It was a brand new set of students.
Yeah, and those kids that we had when the pandemic originally started kind of were familiar with the way we ran our rooms and they knew the tools. But the kids coming in August, you had this weird dynamic of teaching new tech tools and learning new children, kids constantly coming in and coming out. And I think as a teacher, or at least for me, I like to have things very planned, very structured. And that was really hard because every single day something was changing, whether it was a new rule where kids had to sit, what the rules were at the lunchroom, kids coming in, kids coming out, this person's quarantined, this person's not, now the district's doing this. And for me, that was really hard. I came home lots of days, I get emotional just thinking about it, like, I can't do this. Like, I cannot do this anymore. This is, really hard for me. And then through that process, I think I've learned a lot of what I can control. And despite all of those changes, telling myself that as the teacher of the classroom, whether my classroom was whole or, there's a lot of power. We still have a lot of power as educators, and we need to hold on to that power. We need to harness that power. We need to not underestimate that power, because even though a lot of us are still going back to classrooms full of ambiguity, we as teachers still have power with our students. And whether we're through a screen, in person, whether that changes or stays the same, we can be there for these kids.
Absolutely. And I just want to thank you and every educator watching for what you've done with this past year plus. So we all know that there's only things that we have control over, as Kristin mentioned. And so no matter what happens for this school year, I know many schools are at a place right now where they're trying to make some decisions with what's happening right now. And so we take what we have, our current state, then start thinking about, now, what is it that we have control over and what are we going to do? And so we've seen educators transform those learning experiences for their students this past year with technology, and we applaud all of your efforts. And so today, Joe and Kristin are going to share a little bit of the ideas that they've implemented in their own classrooms with Flipgrid. Now, if you have not yet seen Flipgrid live, we are going to play a little snippet of Flipgrid live.
As always, every Flipgrid update we'll share tonight was inspired by you.
You asked, we listened.
We feel so grateful each day to build Flipgrid forward as we are inspired by the most amazing global community. All right, now Joe and Kristin, what are you so excited about for this year based upon those new features from Flipgrid Live?
Man, there are so many amazing things coming down the pipeline that we cannot wait for.
Where do we start? I mean, there are so many different now new avenues for students to demonstrate their learning with Flipgrid. I would have to say lenses is going to be a really fun one. We know that students talk in emojis, they love video, they love Snapchat and TikTok and all those things. And so these lenses are going to be a really fun way for students to, I think just kind of like get on, hide my face, have fun. I think they could be used for so many different ways. And come on, Spirit teachers are going to have some fun with them too, and creating those engaging videos, in their topic discussions and stuff.
Yeah, I've always thought of Flipgrid as being a tool that really boosts the overall creative thinking level. And somehow they've done it again. They've taken that awesomeness and then they've just leveled it up with backdrops. Because if you think about it now, your student can have an image behind them and be explaining what it is that they're referring to. So let's just say, for example, they're showing some work and they're explaining the steps of the work. How powerful is that? Before they would have to hold the board up and, you could still do it, but it's a different feeling.
You had to think in the moment. Now you've got that metacognition of thinking of your thinking, right? Now I've had time to do the work like you were talking about earlier. And then now I can tell you about how I did the work and maybe even reflect on my own process or share on the process of somebody else. And then music is going to be in there with that. I just love music, that whole editing feature and
last but not
moods.
least, you can add topics on your phone now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So many features. We can't choose one.
Oh my goodness. Yes. But you know what? You have a great starting place. I mean, what I absolutely love about Flipgrid in the interactive class is that you have these lessons just ready to go, these lesson ideas where educators can read just a little bit about the activity and implement it with ease. And so I would love for you to share just some great ideas for educators as they start to think about back to school.
All right, let's do it. So I think we have it ready, Jornea, if you want to drop that screen. There you go. Awesome. So one of the first ones that we found was really, really important to us was Flipgrid Playground, because that really focuses on the social and emotional wellness of our students. Imagine being a 6 and 7-year-old and not being able to talk to your friends for that long a period of time. Our child, lived that. And so it was really important to us to put that at the forefront throughout the pandemic. And this is definitely something that I could see you continuing to do.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to focus in on the social emotional learning of our kids as we get back. There's going to be some kids that are going to come back with a lot of trauma from COVID, and there's going to be some that were relatively safe and unfazed as much. And so I think we really need to be delicate with that and give the kids time to share, because if they're in a comfortable space and they're going to share out more of who they are themselves and their families. And let's be real, at school, there's so much to do that we may not actually have the time to have those conversations, in classroom as much as they would like to talk.
Yeah, and this is just a simple and easy way to get the conversation going and to make them feel, to have that semi comfort level, and get them talking with their friends. So it's an easy way to. And
it's in the Discovery Library. So if you're really new to Flipgrid, you can go and just drop it right into a topic for your kids to get ready to do. So another social emotional lesson that I think would be really good for students is like having a safe check-in space for them, right? This could be private, moderated, where other students can't see. I really love the idea of having, if you have devices that would accommodate it, like a QR code somewhere in the room that students can scan at any time, maybe even send it home with them, to have a safe space at home and just provide that outlet for students to kind of vent, to listen, to give positives, to give struggles. And then I just think this would be really a great way to kind of like also let them play with all the features.
Yeah, this is a great way to teach Flipgrid, like you're introducing at the beginning of the year. But I also love how, if you were to give them the QR code and have that safe place at home, because then your students don't feel that pressure of, of maybe like sharing something that they want private with you. And so it's really valuable for you to offer that.
It's super simple. Another really big area that we think Flipgrid does well with in the classroom is building community, right? Building community amongst the students and the community with the teacher. And so a favorite lesson from the book we do have is All About Me Graffiti. And I think this one would look really good with the new feature backdrops.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. All you have to do is put that photo sticker of the brick wall in the background, and then Flipgrid has all those amazing fonts ready for you. You can upload those and, edit those out, and just to kind of explain a little bit about yourself. What a great way to introduce the features again.
Or use backdrops and take pictures of your house or things that are interesting to you and write on top of those. I think there's a lot of creativity for how this lesson could go, but basically let students use words, use pictures to describe who they are, right? Don't put a lot of parameters on it. Let them use the platform to share with you. I think that's a really easy one to start out. And again, the very basic one is in the Discovery Library. If you're not, a little nervous about using these features, or maybe they haven't quite rolled out yet where you are, you could grab those brick walls and let the kids play around with those fonts. There's a lot of new emojis and stickers that they've added to that would be really fun to add to this lesson.
But again, I think the key here is that all of these are great for the beginning of the year, but they also are really great at teaching the tool itself, and so the features of Flipgrid. And so the kids just kind of naturally learn about these as they go along with these different types of activities.
Very low stress, right? Before you add in all the academic content. So another really good community lesson would be staff introductions. And this would be a fun one, especially if the staff are using it to use lenses with.
Yeah, because then that way, your staff has the ability to do it wherever they want on their cell phone. And then they can, feel comfortable if they've not used it before, if they're a little shy or reluctant to use that camera. But Lenses does a great job of making everybody feel cool. So
well, there's a math one and there's a science one. And I don't know for our particular situation, we aren't aware yet, but I don't know if parents are going to be allowed on campus and if you're going to have that traditional meet the teacher. So what a fun way to have all the teachers on. So if a child maybe doesn't know who their teacher is yet, they can meet all of them and embed it onto your website, right? You could take that whole group now, you could embed it onto your website, and parents are looking for school supplies, and they could also find out who some of the teachers are and feel like they're part of the community, even if they're not actually allowed on campus yet.
What's in my bag is another great way to introduce Flipgrid features. You can, if you think about like a show and tell, or anything with the what's in the bag,
a little purse where you have the things that telling you about yourself.
Yeah, so
digitalize it.
Just pull things out of the bag, but really it's not a bag. It's maybe like a Flipgrid sticker, and so you can share different things. This is a great way to get your kids familiar with the features of Flipgrid, and also kind of develop those relationships in the beginning of the year.
I think this would be a fun one too to send home either prior to school or that first week of school. And I believe with the new features, if you get backdrops, what if they had if you download it from the Flipgrid Discovery Library, you get like the little paper bag sticker like overlay. But how cool would it be if maybe they had like that with the backdrops and they have other pictures or things from their home that describe them, that they're like, I think there's a lot of fun that you could have with this, and where they put themselves on the screen or they're coming out of the bag. Oh, there's so many things you could do. So I think that'd be a really fun one. Again, just to get to know your students, let them share about themselves. Let them tell you what they think is important. about them. I think often we ask them too many questions and let them, share.
Yeah, absolutely. Diversity is also very important, obviously, in the classroom. And so one of the ways you can kind of tie this into is with 2 truths and a lie.
I actually have this on my first day plans
There
to
you
do
go.
2 truths and a lie. Let the kids tell you something about themselves, maybe their families. You could have them do it at home. And bring those families, get those families involved, but let them tell you 2 things about themselves that are true and then a lie. And then they have to then decipher as a class which one. So what I do with my classes, we all film them. And then the first week of school, every day before dismissal, we watch 1 or 2 of them together. And then as a class, we try to decide. And then the child gets to stand up and tell you which one's the lie and share about themselves. And it's really fun because that's where a lot of this diversity is going to come. You're letting the kids completely pick what they want to share. And you're going to very much kind of tell, I don't know, you learn a lot of really cool things because what the kids think is important to share isn't always what you would think that they would decide to.
And you're probably seeing a recurring pattern here with all of these. They all come back to the student, right? And so, whether they're learning the features of Flipgrid, whether they're, learning how to develop relationships with one another in the beginning of the year, it's all about the student. And I love that Flipgrid has always done that. They've always put the student first. And some of these lessons can help
Powers their voice.
doing that. Yeah. Speaking of putting the student first, show and tell. We kind of talked about it a little bit with what's in the bag. Very simple for littles. If you want to just give them a platform for them to share, maybe a cool Lego creation or, something that maybe they just like to share and maybe they're not able to in the classroom.
You could use backdrops for this too.
You could definitely use backdrops. Can you imagine build like this extravagant Lego in the background?
Put yourself inside of it. Oh my gosh, there are so many things. And you could do this academically too. Like if you wanted to make it more of a STEM activity, like the Legos got me thinking. Or for, beginning of the school year, more of a generic kind of, get to know you, low stress environment. But that would be really fun, I think, with backdrops.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so much potential there.
Or music. What if they put like a certain kind of music in for the mood of their show and tell? Like if they were like a ballerina, that could be one thing. Or if they wanted to be more like, suspenseful. Oh, there could be fun there too.
This one I think would also be really great with music because you can leave a voicemail.
Oh my gosh, you're so silly.
Listen, I don't know who still uses voicemail, but if you put some music on it, you've got my attention.
I'm thinking this is really good when you talk about the diversity too, because we want to get parents into the classroom, right? We want to diversify our learning experiences, our accessibility to information. And so I think it's really cool to use Flipgrid and share it out with your parents, right? You could give them a way to get a hold of you because honestly, I'm more likely to hear from a parent if it's a way like that than it is like your traditional voicemail or going through all the extensions and everything. I think it's really cool. And again, just a way to open that window into the classroom and to allow other people inside.
Yeah. And I will say, being a first grade teacher and kind of seeing the families that we have in our class, not very many of them will use voicemail. And so doing something like this, it speaks more of their language. And so I think it's important to understand that as an educator now that things are evolved and they're changing and, we might have to kind of adapt to how we approach different things.
I saw a really cool example of this with a colleague where they took the Flipgrid voicemail QR code or AR code and they put it on assignments that they would send home. So then if parents had trouble, they could call in like right then and there and she could leave like examples or ways to help with that assignment. Then if other parents call in, they would see the examples ahead of time. It was a really neat way.
Cool.
So just another way to kind of get parents into the classroom and see what's going on. Now, obviously reflective, like using Flipgrid to reflect on learning is probably the way it's used the most, I would say. So we didn't add too many examples here, but the idea for reconstructing a story was a very easy one. And I thought if you're looking for just a simple way to use Flipgrid at the beginning of the year, this one would fit.
And this is a perfect tie-in for backdrops. I mean, think about it. You can recreate the story in a backdrop and then the students can be on the front of the video explaining everything that they're thinking. What a great
like drop them into the book.
Yeah.
They walk around to different parts or talk to different characters. If you're not looking to use backdrops quite yet, you could do it like you did with Stella Luna and just use the stickers and the backgrounds that are already there and retell the story that way too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we were talking with Jornea and we kind of came up together collectively with this idea of backdrops, lenses, and music. Oh my, which new feature are you excited to try? There are so many that we could do, and we're excited to see what the Flipgrid community comes up with this school year.
So many. And, oh my goodness, as you were sharing all the ideas for social and emotional learning for students at the very beginning, just ensuring that they have that welcoming space inside the classroom. That's a wonderful place to start. But then when you got into thinking about building community, whether it's with your staff or with families, something as simple as those introduction topics really allows people to feel like they're really a part of that learning environment. And beyond the voicemail where parents can come in and learn about what's happening in the classroom, to maybe even seeing some new ideas, maybe from other families if they have new strategies that they're sharing with the class, I think is a beautiful, beautiful way. So thank you so much for sharing all of those ideas, using those new features. And we can't wait to see what the educators who are watching are excited to try. So once again, use that hashtag Flipgrid for all and share with us those features that you are so excited to try. And if you have lesson ideas, definitely share those as well. Now, as we come to a close in a little bit, one thing I want to share is our friend Randall Sampson. You both know Randall. He shared this quote with us during Educator Innovation Month. Make sure the culture is right. Have the kids fall back in love with learning. And I think you spoke to this a little bit earlier when you shared, there's certain things that we can control, and we can really control those learning experiences, those fun learning experiences for our students. And so, Joe and Kristin, I just want to thank you so much for not only being a source of inspiration, but you are actually taking the lessons that you've done with your students. So educators, these are proven activities and ideas. And granted, we all are educators. They may not always work the first time, right? So we're always in a learning phase too about what works best for us, what works best for our classroom environments, our schedules, our situations, whether you are hybrid or remote or fully back into the classroom. Just note that we are here rooting for you. And hopefully you will check out the ideas inside of this book and tweet out about it. Let us know how those ideas are going. Joe and Kristin, any last words for our educators?
I love that quote from Randall. I mean, Randall's the man. He knows what's up, but that quote hits it. I mean, it's a home run right there.
And I think, I think there's a little bit of teachers are going to have to fall back in love with learning too.
Yeah.
It was a hard year. And I think even we would be amiss if we didn't admit that there were days that we came home like, we can't do this. Like, this is really hard. And so for even teachers to just band back together, really fall in love with learning, share your learning, find your community, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's in your classroom, whether it's with your teammates, whatever it is, find your safe space of people that you can share with and learn with. Because just like the students, we're going to need that coming back, and everyone's going to be in a different situation. And there's going to be times where you feel like you're in this bubble or this fishbowl, but you're not. There's other people experiencing that, and just reach out, because I think the community, especially the Flipgrid community, is so amazing and supportive.
Yeah, you're definitely not alone.
So besides them checking out the book, how can educators connect with you beyond today's session?
Well, we are everywhere at the Merrills EDU. It doesn't matter what form of social media.
What platform? We're on all of them.
Yep. There's 2 R's and 2 L's because
there's 2 of us, if you can't remember. And we love to share what we're doing. So hopefully, fingers crossed, as school gets back in session, we love to share our learning like in real time as we're doing it, as we're being successful, maybe as we're revising it. And so we'd love to have you along for that journey. We'd love to be able to share those things with you. If you go to our website at themerrillsedu.com, if you sign up for our mailing list, we try to send out anything we make or create to share with people so that you could use it as well. And that's usually our first avenue. But please just connect with us. We like we said, we thrive on that community. And on those days that learning and teaching is hard for us, we love to go on social media and see all of the inspiring things that everyone else is doing. And we'd love for you to be part of our interactive family.
Yeah, that's a really great point. If you're having a rough day, there's nothing better than like jumping onto Twitter and seeing an inspiring educator share an idea that just totally rejuvenates all of your energy and gets you excited to get back into it. And so thank you guys out there for checking this out and for watching and hanging out with us and inspiring all of us to do more and to do better.
Yeah, and you know what? Besides social media, they can also learn right along with you on Flipgrid. So I'm going to share my screen for a moment just to share with educators where they can find topics that have been created by the Merrills. So what you'll see in just a moment, and hopefully everyone will be able to see this. I'll make this a little bit bigger. We are inside of the Flipgrid Discovery Library. Now, Discovery is a place where we have educators and partners sharing incredible topics that you can easily launch for your class discussions. So if you scroll down in Discovery, you'll find a special place for our inspiring creators. And when you click View All, you'll be able to see all of these incredible inspiring creators, which also includes the Merrills EDU. They're so great. They're in there twice right now. So here is the Merrills. Oh my goodness, 48 topics. 48 topics. So I'll just take a moment and applaud you for that, for taking the moment to share your ideas with educators. And as I'm scrolling through, man, here's one, morning news, right? What an awesome and fun way to share morning news. And the cool thing about it, I always think about how is technology helping to transform, right? And I know when I was a second grade teacher, yes, we had morning news, and only the people who were in the school building at that moment in time heard the school news. But if we have our school news on Flipgrid, not only can our entire school community hear, but if we wanted outside community members to get a window into what's happening, our families to get a window into what's happening at the school, you know, and having those students share the school news, have students own it, right? What a beautiful way to involve the community, right?
I think that's so important. And I think the idea of the students creating it and then taking, value in what they're doing every day, you could always record it at the end of the day. It doesn't have to be at the beginning, sharing their highlights, sharing the things they've learned. Then it's going to make them more reflective during the day to look for those things. I just think it's a really awesome idea.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So 48. And I mean, we can go through so many. Oh my goodness. As a reading teacher, a fluency check. Once again, I remember having to have each student come to me and have the time to read to me for me to do a fluency check. But with technology, once again, time and space is transformed. Now the students can actually have their text on the screen. And with those new features, Joe and Kristin, I'm thinking, right? They can have that book or the article on the screen as they're reading, and the educator can go back and see, where they should make those points with the student. The student can also self-reflect. So now the student has a video of themselves reading. And so it's more powerful for the students to reflect on what they need to improve on, and those areas in which they might need a little bit more help. So thank you so much for adding these incredible topics inside of Flipgrid Discovery. I think every educator who comes to this space can maybe make a connection to something that they've done before in the classroom, and to just take it to another level. So that is my charge to every educator who's watching. Think about those great best practices that and you love, for your classroom, and think about ways that you can transform that with Flipgrid. As I always say, if you can think it,
you can Flipgrid it.
And the Merrills have proven that. Thank you so much for joining us. And for every educator watching, we are definitely coming back this week for a first look at Flipgrid. So join me and the Educator Innovation Lead team at Flipgrid as we dive deep into those brand new features and everything new inside of Flipgrid. So you'll be able to get a firsthand look as those features start rolling out for you and your scholars. And until then, we encourage you to just empower every voice in the best ways that you know how, and that's being your authentic selves. So we want to thank you once again for joining today. And don't forget all those wonderful ideas you have. Use the hashtag Flipgrid for all on all the social media outlets, and you'll be able to win a swag pack, which includes the Merrills' second book, Flipgrid, in the interactive class. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. See ya.
Bye.